Thank you very much to Finn and Naren for becoming new members of the Kinetic Rugby League channel, and thank you to Flo Lacey for rejoining as a member of the channel as well, and thank you to all members for being part of this great community. Let's get on with the video. Starting in 12th place and moving down one this week, I have Castleford Tigers. The game against Salford just felt the same as a lot of other Castleford games this season. They'll show some good signs, but they can't put together a full 80-minute performance whilst being outplayed for most of the game. The weird thing with Cas now, though, is I think they've actually improved a lot in a lot of different areas compared to the first half of the season anyway. They're stronger through the middle, their kicking game is a little more effective, and their run threat is also stronger, especially with Dejan Assi improving in that area in recent weeks as well. And of course, their ability to move the ball. I think they look like a more dangerous side compared to what they did earlier in the year. But at this point, they're massively let down by their defence. You'll get the odd game where the defence is fantastic, but typically that's the one thing letting them down. I do like and appreciate some of the improvements, but as of right now, they just can't seem to compete with anyone. They have the worst form in the league right now, and they just lost to last place. So Castleford Tigers moved down one into 12th. Next up, in 11th and moving up one this week, I have the Salford Red Devils. Now that's back-to-back weeks we've seen convincing Salford performances. Finally getting some consistency in their lineup is really paying off. Briley has helped Salford find stability, along with guys like Nicarima and Shorrocks. Their forwards are stronger on paper now, the defence is more confident and better connected because their backline has been the same in the last few weeks, and in possession, they play with a lot of energy. Now something that also impressed me was that Danny Richardson, who was a huge player for Salford last week by the way, was recalled by Hull Kingston Rovers, and I thought that he'd be a massive miss for the Red Devils, but Oliver Russell comes in, gives them stability and a half-decent kicking game as well. Nicarima had to go off, Masters had to go off as well, and even Logan Lewis in the first half after his first contact of the game. So they lost a few important pieces during that game, but they continue to do the basics well enough, complete sets well enough, defend well enough, with plenty of discipline, and when they needed to be brave and get creative, they backed themselves, played with pace and executed well. So well done Salford, and they move up one into 11th. On to 10th place, and still in 10th I have the Catalan Dragons. Their first half against Warrington was awful. Too many errors, poor discipline, the defence looked weak, and in possession they didn't look threatening at all. The second half was much better. They moved the ball around with more intent, especially down their left edge. They looked like a decent side down that side of the field. And when Barmforth came on, I think his pace and decision making from dummy half was a huge help. But their biggest issue right now, and their biggest issue for a while, has been their defence. Aside from that one game versus Huddersfield a few weeks back, their defence has been awful. But they have been mixing things up in their squad a little bit, nothing major, just slight changes. I do think they helped Warrington in the first half and were helped by Warrington in the second half. I also think they were robbed of a try at the start of the game, so that didn't help, of course. But they're a little dull as a team right now. The defence needs to step up massively, and some of the decision-making and execution has been poor as well. For example, 2 short dropout attempts, both didn't make the 10 metres. Okay, not the end of the world, but something towards the back end of the game, there was a kick from Luke Keary into the in-goal area. With less than a minute to go, with Tavita Pangai Jr. chasing that. All Warrington had to do was kick it over the dead ball line. They could run 20 to 30 seconds off the clock. With less than a minute to go, when you need a try. It just wasn't the right call. Little things like that just been adding up as well in offence. And as I've said in a recent video, they look slow. Now the positive for them going forwards is that they've got plenty of quality and experienced players that can turn it around, but as of right now, Catalan Dragons stay in 10th. On to 9th, and moving down one, I have the Huddersfield Giants. Their first half performance was really solid against Wigan at the weekend. They completed well, moved the ball around nicely. Their second try in particular was really nicely done, and they found themselves in great field position a lot of the time and looked dangerous. And there were a few more tries I think they nearly could have had as well, but in the second half, it kind of fell apart, which was really disappointing. Because all it took were a few mistakes over a few sets, whether it be penalties or errors in possession. They then turn over the ball in great attacking field position to a great attacking side. They then have to defend on their own goal line again and again and again. And eventually that pressure kept on building. Now it was a winnable game for the Giants, but their own mistakes really helped to throw all of that good work away they did in the first half, as I said. We can all see that they've massively improved as a side though. The forwards are still strong, the kicking game looks alright, and they can be an exciting attacking side. With Flanagan at fullback, he's settled there nicely, and he's making players miss tackles, and he's causing problems for defences. And Lolohea is playing at a high level right now, playing at some of his best rugby league right now, I think. He's been a major reason why the Giants have looked like a more dangerous attacking side in recent weeks. I think Huddersfield could have kept 8th place, but because of the major drop-off in the second half, and the reasons I have for another team taking 8th place, Huddersfield Giants moved down 1 into 9th. So, on to 8th place, and moving up 1, I have Warrington Wolves. Weirdly, just based on form only, not performance, just form, Wyatt are 3rd best in the league on form right now. 3rd best. Other teams also have 3 wins in the last 5, but Warrington have now won 3 in a row. So they're actually 3rd for form, which is weird. They have won 3 games in a row, as I said, with a convincing performance against Hull 3 weeks ago, a tough watch against Salford last week, and then 1 good half against Catalans this week. Now, what I said for Catalans, I could basically repeat here, just kind of switched. The first half for Wire was brilliant at the weekend, looking in control, moving the ball nicely, keeping Catalans pinned back a fair few times as well. But that second half was atrocious. Way too many errors, poor discipline, and oh my god, the kicking game was awful. Wire lost Sneed earlier in the game, so Ratchford and Williams were both responsible for kicking, but both kick directly to the back 3 receivers. So they've got no work to do. They can collect the ball in their own 20 or 30, return the ball at the field and start a fresh set of 6 from their own 30 or 40, sometimes halfway line. The errors and discipline were poor, but the kicking game was the biggest issue by a mile. Now, of course, right near the end, up steps George Williams to get Wire the win at the end of the game, which is what he's there for. Warrington have won 3 games in a row. They haven't all been pretty, of course, but they're huge wins. The performances are lacking, and unless the quality of performances improve, when Warrington face tougher opponents, it's not going to go well for them. But because of those 3 wins in a row, as of right now, Warrington move up 1 into 8th. On to 7th, and still in 7th, I have Hull FC. Their game at the weekend felt similar to the week before against Saints. In the first half, they weren't really in the game. Completion was poor, really, really poor. I think they completed it as low as 45% at one point. The middles couldn't get much going either, but they were okay in defence. Now, in the second half, once again, it took until about the 50-minute mark to find any success, same as against Saints, where they got themselves a try to stay in the game, and it was only 10-6 to Wakey after that. Now, for the rest of the half, Wakefield had their issues, and I'll get onto them soon when I talk about them, but Hull FC started to actually complete sets, get to their kicks, and then they defended brilliantly off the back of it, I think. They didn't give Wakefield anything easy as well when they had the ball. They made it very tough in the midfield. Aidan Caesar continues to be an extremely important piece for Hull, along with SASA. I think Hardacre has looked quite lively at fullback as well. Now, they do really need Asiata and Price back as soon as possible, but I think their attack will struggle against a few more teams coming up, but with more consistency in the lineup at least. Even without those guys, as long as they can find consistency, they can build combinations without them for now. And Aiden, who's filling in at loose forward for now as well, can improve week by week as a 13. So as of right now, Hull FC stay in 7th. On to 6th, and moving down 2, I have Wakefield Trinity. They were clearly the better side in the first half, but in the second, they just completely threw that game away. All of the positives I said about Hull FC, by the way, they still stand. But Wakefield's completion was poor, just so many errors and so many penalties, gifting field position to Hull time and time and time again. In attack, when they were actually losing, their intent to try and score was lacking massively, which was a huge disappointment to me. This was probably Wakefield's worst display of the season, by a good margin as well. If they just cleaned up the errors, it wouldn't have looked so bad, to be honest. So why are Wakefield still above Hull FC? Well, I have said many times, it's not always about the wins, because they can be misleading. A team that didn't deserve to win might end up winning a game. They can be misleading. So it's mostly based on performances. And in recent weeks, Wakefield have faced much tougher opponents and been the better performers. Now, this one was a major drop, which is why they've lost places, but based on strength or power, as you could say, I still think Wakefield are stronger as of right now, but they move down 2 into 6th. On to 5th place, and staying in 5th, I have Wigan Warriors. There was a chance they could have moved up, but over the previous 4 weeks, they have dropped in performance. So what they produced in the second half versus Huddersfield needs to be replicated for the next few games to move back up. They looked about the same as they've been recently in the first half, a little unsure of themselves in attack, not that effective in the middle, and a bit vulnerable in defence as well. I think they were on the back foot early, and they didn't match Huddersfield's energy, or just didn't expect it. But in the second half, yes, they were helped a lot by errors from Huddersfield, but some of the tries they scored were just very nicely executed, especially the one where they were offloading constantly and Smith kicked the ball cross-field and it was finished by Wardle. I think Christian Wade had a decent debut as well, so fair play to him. There were a few errors in there, but overall he worked hard, got stuck in, put in a good shift with the carries out of the backfield and got himself a try. So as I say, fair play to him. Now, Wigan need to make sure that they can put in 80-minute performances over the next few weeks because teams are starting to close the gap to them and find ways to upset them. They need to pick up their energy at the start of games. But much more improved this week, and for now, Wigan will stay in 5th. On to 4th place, and moving down 3, I have Kingston Rovers. They've now lost back-to-back games, which people weren't expecting to happen at any point this season, really. Last week wasn't so bad, to be honest. They just found a good match against Leeds. But this week against Leigh, there were a few issues. First off, the lineup. Now, to go into this one a little bit, during my live stream for the game, I said a few times I disagreed with the decision to bring Richardson back in. People have been saying online this week that KR are a one-man team, which just isn't true, because every time that Mikey Lewis hasn't been available over the last few seasons, Lytton plays at 6, and they still win, comfortably on some occasions as well. So I think KR got that one wrong. Now, they have been getting away from their usual process, which is to kick towards the back left and pin teams back. This might not sound like much, but now it's May or Morg kicking wherever they like. I think whoever kicks needs to keep doing what they've been doing, go short side left and kick towards the back left, because it's all about rhythm. It's a process that they're used to. They've been there, done that time and time again, and it works for Hull KR. So just get back into that same rhythm. I think their forwards have been amazing this year as well, but I think they could really do with the rest. I think the work they've been putting in over the last few weeks and months as well might be starting to take a toll on them. They could really do with the rest, because Leeds and Leigh have now competed with them through the middle, and in defence, that was KR's weakest defensive display since round 7 versus Wigan. Now, they can easily bounce back next round, but for now, they move down 3 into 4th. On to 3rd place, and staying in 3rd, I have Leeds Rhinos. Now, at the weekend, their performance did bother me a bit, because they had every opportunity to get the win, or even just points. They were the only side not to score at the weekend. They had an extra man, back-to-back sets in the red zone, and made nothing happen off the back of it. Some of the decision-making was poor as well. Too many wayward or Hail Mary offloads in there. They also lacked a bit of energy as well, I think. The reason why they've retained their spot and KR has dropped as much as they have is that Leeds got that win over KR last week. And this week, defensively, they were much stronger. As much as scoring 0 points isn't a good look at all, Leeds conceded 6 points. That's it, 6. So clearly, they're still a very reliable defensive side. They just had a dip in their attack this week. But they did play against a very strong defensive side this week as well in St Helens. Leeds are a very strong team this year and could still make the grand final. They're great up front, they can be an exciting attacking side, and they're the 3rd best defensive side in the league right now. They've beaten Warrington, Leigh and Hull KR in recent weeks, but been bettered by Saints twice as well. So Leeds stay in 3rd. Which means we have a new top 2. So, in 2nd place, moving up 4 this week, I have St Helens. As I just said, Leeds have beaten some strong teams, but have been bettered by Saints twice in recent weeks. My biggest issue in recent weeks for Saints, in terms of moving them up, was those 2 wins versus Salford. They don't hold as much weight, but I have said before, teams still need to keep them out, which Saints have done, conceding just 4 points in those 2 recent wins. Saints are also on the best form in the league right now, winning 5 in their last 5, 2 of which include the Salford wins. But not just getting 1, but 2 wins over Leeds in recent weeks gives me plenty of reason to move them up first of all, adding that win over Hull FC as well. Now the scoreline is misleading because Saints had full control for most of that game, but that was a huge performance as well from Saints. So I had my doubts because of the Salford games. The first win versus Leeds gave me a lot more confidence in them, so did the win versus Hull FC, but this one versus Leeds again just sealed it for me. They've proven they can reliably compete with some of the best teams, and it wasn't just a one-off where Leeds were awful in that first meeting, by the way. Saints are the 2nd best defensive side in the league, and they have the 3rd best attack. So St Helens move up 4 into 2nd. So that means, for the first time this season, in 1st place and moving up 2, I have Leigh Leopards. Now to start with the reasons why they're above Saints, because I know some people might think that Saints should be above them. I've got 2 reasons right now, and I'll go into those. First is strength of opponent, because yes, they've both played Leeds. Saints do have the edge there because they beat Leeds twice and Leigh lost to Leeds. But Leigh have also played Hull KR and Wigan, beating both fairly convincingly. And they also have wins over both Catalans and Wakefield compared to the 2 that Saints have over Salford. Second is their attack. Leigh are the much better attacking side right now. I think defensively it's fairly close, but I will lean towards Saints on that one. But I think the gap in attack is much greater and leans towards Leigh, in my opinion. Now, against Hull Kingston Rovers, Leigh were excellent. They ran the ball well through the middle. They weren't afraid to move the ball around and created plenty of breaks off the back of it. And they defended brilliantly. I said after the Leeds game, or it might have been the Wigan game, that Leigh could win the grand final this year. But I know that after the Leeds game, I said they needed to find more consistency in their performances and their defence especially. So after conceding 48 points versus Leeds, they then held Wigan to just 8 and Hull KR to just 10. That's the lowest amount that Wigan have scored all year since round 1, where Leigh won 1-0 against Wigan. And it's the third fewest points Hull KR have scored all year, behind the 8 they scored versus Leeds last week and the 8 versus Wyatt in the Challenge Cup final. So as of right now, Leigh Leopards move up 2 into first. Conveniently, folks, Leigh will be taking on St Helens on Thursday, which I'll be doing a live stream for, so feel free to stop by. I'll be streaming for all Super League games this weekend, by the way, so I hope to see more people there. We've got a great community building there with regulars coming back every stream, chatting about the game, so hopefully we can see more of you there. But as always, if you guys have your own power rankings, do let me know in the comment section down below. Are there any that you disagree with, anything that you change? Do let me know your thoughts. But if you enjoyed, feel free to leave a like. It does help to get the video out there to more people. Subscribe to the channel to stay up to date with more Kinetic Rugby League content. If you'd like to become a member, you can do by clicking the join button below this video and joining for as little as £1 per month. But that's going to be it. Thanks for watching, and I will see you next time.